morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we've got ourselves a new secret rare from Stella Miracle in Japan, Stella Crown in the West, that we need to have a little bit of a look at. And I'm just going to tell you right now, firstly, oh, my heart is soaring with this artwork. Oh my word, I love it. And secondly, this is a legit good card. This is genuinely a legit good card, and I'm going to explain to you why. So we got ourselves a new Ledian and a new Ledian here, and we might as well just start off with the alternate artwork here, the illustration rare by Hayaganosuke. By now, you guys know that I am a gigantic fan of Hayaganosuke. I think they are doing some of the best artwork in the Pokémon TCG, but sometimes you see a card like this, and even in the context of, oh my word, Hayaganosuke is one of the best artists doing work in the Pokemon TCG, man, this is a great card. I absolutely love it. Now, getting away from the artwork for a moment, although just to be clear, oh my word, I love this artwork. This has a legit ability. It's a stage 1, and it says, once during a turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has 90 HP or less remaining with their active Pokemon. And this is one of those ones where your first impression is, oh my goodness, Gusting, that's amazing. And your second impression is, oh, hang on a second, only if they've got 90 HP or less remaining, that's not ideal. And then your third reaction is, oh, hang on a second, that can really, really work. And it can. Because there are two categories of Pokemon that this is going to largely be targeting down. And those categories are support Pokemon and evolving Pokemon. Now, with evolving Pokemon, it really depends how early you get this out and how well your opponent has set up their board. Because let's say you're against a Charizard deck. Well, if they've only got one Charmander in play, you KO their only Charmander, and now all of a sudden they can't get a Charizard next turn. And if they're really relying on having a Charizard next turn because of the whole attacking thing, well, you've just completely cut them off at the knees, and that's a wonderful thing. Or maybe they have two Charmander out, such that stopping Charizard isn't going to happen, but they need Pidgey for their Pidgeot, and they've only got one Pidgey out. So you get rid of their only Pidgey and make sure that you can guarantee that they will not have a Pidgeot out next turn. Things like that in terms of the evolution. This is where it comes in absolutely beautifully. Against a Gardevoir deck, for instance, let's be real. They are just going to be trying to get Curlier out. And the reality is they are going to make their deck. We've all seen, look, I've commentated a lot of Gardevoir games at this point. Since last year, since the middle of last year. For over a year now. Gardevoir's been legal. I've casted a lot of Gardevoir games. You don't usually see one route or one Curlier sitting on the bench. Now, if you do, obviously target it down with this. But I'm saying that's oftentimes not necessarily going to be an option. But it's where your opponent is trying to play, multiple stage 2s or they're having a bad start or whatever, and you can actually start picking apart bits of their engine. This is going to be amazing. But we also have a lot of support Pokemon. Is this going to be able to go and get their B-Barrel? No. Because they don't have 90 HP or less. Now, I suppose you can try and do 30 damage to it and then bring it active, but that's not going to work terribly often. But, while we stick in Brilliant Stars for the moment, Manaphy. Manaphy does have 90 HP or less, and Manaphy is, for some decks, a huge problem. So there's two things that you can do here. You can either bring Manaphy active and KO it, and we've seen this a million times as well, right? If you KO Manaphy, your opponent is going to spend their next turn desperately searching for a Super Rod to try and get Manaphy back in the deck and then established so that you don't have a turn where Manaphy's not there, because having a turn without Manaphy there is a very bad thing. Alright? But the thing is, they're not always going to be able to do that. The other option here, Cancelling Cologne. Cancelling Cologne turns off the abilities of active Pokemon, but only active Pokemon. Cancelling Cologne does nothing, in terms of Manaphy at least, while Manaphy's on the bench. But if you want to use Cancelling Cologne against a Manaphy, you've got to both drag Manaphy into the active and play Cancelling Cologne on the same turn. Another thing that we've seen happen time and time again, but with a combo like this, you want to try and make it as easy as possible. Rather than having to use your supporter for the turn in boss's orders, or having to use your one-of ace spec in terms of Prime Catcher, what we can do instead is use this. It's a Pokemon with 90 HP. It's much easier to search than something like Prime Catcher. And then all of a sudden, you just need to try and search your Cancelling Cologne. And my point is, your Cancelling Cologne Gusting combo, I believe, is going to work significantly more often if you're playing Ledian than it is otherwise. And that's where I'm looking at here. That's what I'm thinking. And now all of a sudden, you can turn off Manaphy, and you got something like, I don't know, the new Kyurem, it does 110 to 3 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Because that's a phenomenal card that your opponent is going to be going, oh wait, no, I cannot let that hit me. I have got to get Manaphy out as fast as possible. And if you KO Manaphy, your opponent is going to be trying to recover it as fast as possible, because that Kyurem, if used effectively, can wreck games. So what you do is you either KO it and hope your opponent cannot recover, or just Cancelling Cologne. You can do other things like take out Manaphy while playing a reset stamp, for instance. Your opponent's got a 2-card hand, and they're going to be Manaphy-less and with a low hand, which is unlikely to be able to give them what they need afterwards, as an example. And obviously here, I'm not just talking about Manaphy. The point is not Manaphy. The point is, that is an example of a card which can sit on the bench with 90 HP or less in a lot of matchups, making your life a lot more awkward. Any of those cards can be taken out by Ledian. And it's even worth mentioning, like, although generally we're thinking about taking out pre-evolutions and taking out support Pokemon and all of that, if you do a big chunk of damage, and your opponent goes to the bench to try and make sure that actually they don't get KO'd, because they're about to be KO'd because they've taken a big chunk of damage, this can bring them back active and allow you to finish them off. There are many, many, many reasons for this ability. And I honestly think we're kind of at that stage where there's so many good uses for it. You could be playing it specifically because you're worried about Manaphy, for instance. But then actually, instead of that, well, while I'm playing it for Manaphy, I'm also getting extra value out of it because I'm playing it and using it for this as well. Also, like I've said, Jirachi, same as Manaphy here, similar kind of thing. We love it. Oh, and while we're here, don't forget the bug catching set is a thing now. I don't know how many decks are going to be playing it, but if you are playing bug catching set, this is going to make this easier to actually get hold of. And I haven't mentioned the attack yet, but the attack's not terrible. 2 colorless energy, 70 damage. Damage from this attack is not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on the defending Pokemon. Is it phenomenal? No. No, it's not. And remember, it doesn't hit for weakness. It's swift. It's one of those things that never hits for weakness. And there will actually be times when not hitting for weakness is genuinely legit super annoying. However, 70 damage KOs Mimikyu. Just putting that out there. Now, the funny thing is, Mimikyu is there to block, but it doesn't block you because you're just a regular Pokemon. But you still do the perfect number of damage to KO Mimikyu. And even though you go through everything, you don't need to go through Mimikyu. However, you will KO Mimikyu, and it does give you an answer against Mimikyu in some decks if that's what you're looking for. And honestly here, like, let's say any deck where you're playing Teal Mask Ogapon. Well, Teal Mask Ogapon can play Bug Catching Set, and a nice card I really like with it at least is Energy Switch, because you're attaching an extra energy to your Ogapon every turn with the ability anyway, so being able to then Energy Switch it over is clearly a good thing. And then I can power it up really easily, I can search it out really easily, and now I've got an answer to anything that would be blocking my big EXs. And again, I'm using Mimikyu as an example here, but it goes through anything. So any other card that is blocking for any reason, you can go through here as well. I love Ledian as a 1-1 or a 2-2 tech in a lot of decks. I think most games you are going to be able to find something with 90 or less HP, whether it's an evolving Pokemon, whether it's a support Pokemon, whether it's a heavily damaged Pokemon that you want to bring active and KO. I'm sure you'll be able to find something most games where this is going to give you real value in terms of the gusting. And then you've also got an answer just in case your opponent tries blocking you. I think this is phenomenal. I legit love this card. I'm giving it 4 Wassies and I don't even care. And then you've got the alternate art by Hygan Asuke, just in case it wasn't good enough anyway. Although, just to be clear, and I think I've been pretty clear about this, but just to be clear, it definitely is good enough anyway. I love this card. I think this is a really good card. I am legitimately, definitely going to be popping this into a bunch of decks. I think it could be great. But I've told you all that now. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me if this is the kind of card you might be playing in your decks. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @LeWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Eric Ridgway, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.